Hey there, Capricorn. How's it going? My name's Alex. I think the Oracle and I have some messages for you today, some insight that'll be helpful. Before I turned the camera on, I did a meditation for you, and I got an itching hexagram for you. So we'll jump right in with the first things I saw during my meditation. It was interesting, and it came real quick. It was a little earthworm, coiled up, kind of like, if there's like a cobra snake or something, in a little coil, kind of standing up, something earthworms don't do. But this one did, and it was like coming out of very rich black soil. And then this earthworm transformed into a big sunflower. And the sunflower then faced the sun, and the sun rays were like really bright and beautiful and like orangey gold. And the roots of this sunflower went like really deep, and they're really strong, nice, healthy roots. And it made me think of like compost and vermipost. I don't know if you're familiar with vermipost. It's when you make compost using earthworms. And I do vermipost actually for my garden, and it's I think one of the best, probably the best compost creating systems. It can be difficult to do. You got to have the box on the ground and you got to take care of it, but it's worth it. It's a bit more of an effort to get that kind of compost, but it's very, very good in the end. And then after that, I got another mind's eye vision. This one was funny. It was a little girl in a pink dress, like a toddler, and she was just playing with this giant scythe, like a Grim Reaper scythe, and she was just spinning it and flicking it into the air, and she was just laughing and smiling, and she was like so skilled, like Cirque du Soleil juggler skilled with this freaking scythe. And she's tossing it in the air and spinning it around and twirling this scythe around, and it reminded me of some like Japanese anime or video games where there's some small character that has like an enormous weapon that it's absolutely impossible for them to use in real life, but in that cartoon they use it flawlessly and deftly and very, very well. So those are the two things I got for you. And I have no idea what that second one is. The scythe is obviously a symbol of death and the ending of a cycle. A spinning scythe reminds me of like the spinning of the wheel of Dharma or the wheel of fortune, like a cycle that's beginning anew. And that worm coming out of the rich soil, like worms that create good soil, that's a cycle of life, and then plants grow from it. It's like this whole cyclical thing, and then that plant will die, and then the worms will eat it and create more soil and a new plant. It's just this constant cyclical thing going on, which is interesting because the hexagram I got for you from the I Ching is the very, very last one. Hexagram 64, Wei Zhi, or before completion, or not yet fulfilled. Depends on the translation. And it changes, there's a changing line there. See the fourth line from the bottom that I put a little star next to? It changes to hexagram 4, childhood. We'll get into what that means. But this is the final hexagram, the 64 hexagram that make up the I Ching. This is the last one. And the one that comes before it is already fulfilled. So 63 is already fulfilled, and then 64 is not yet fulfilled. It's a new cycle that's beginning. And things are in balance, but there's no perfect equilibrium in this situation. You see, we have alternating yin lines and yang lines, like broken, solid, broken, solid, broken, solid, going all the way up. But you see, every broken line, every yin line is in a yang place, and every yang line is in a yin place. So they're all in the incorrect place for there to be perfect equilibrium, like in the hexagram 63, already fulfilled. It's like the perfectly balanced, harmonious hexagram. This one is harmonious because there's a nice, soft alternating of yin and yang, but they're each in the wrong place. So this is a somewhat difficult position to be in, where there's no perfect equilibrium, but things are balanced. So what's important is to see what's out of balance, and to be careful with it is to discern it properly, because you can have a false sense of balance here but you'll feel something's off. And so you're being asked to really pay attention to the details and notice the disorderly situation that's around you or that you're in, that you find yourself in, whether it's mentally, emotionally, economically, at work. I don't know what situation you're dealing with, but there's some disorder to it while also being harmonious. And that kind of is the state of, that earthworm in the soil, of breaking down that soil. It's this not yet fulfilled, beginning a new cycle is similar to the mortificatio or nigredo periods or stages of alchemy. I'm not sure if you study alchemy, but you might want to look into that phase, that stage called mortificatio, sometimes called nigredo. And this is the stage when, if we talk in material terms, a substance is decayed and broken down, a dead substance, like something that was alive, maybe an animal, a person, a plant, some organic matter, was once alive, it died, it decayed, and then it's like the final stage of decay where it becomes like a fertile ground for something, or is about to become a fertile ground for something. It's not quite that nice compost yet. It's at the stage just before it becomes compost. So it's not a dead, gross, decayed thing, but it's also not nice, perfectly usable compost. It's at this liminal stage between the two. And this substance can't stay there. It can't go back, it must go forward. And it cannot remain where it is. It has to become compost, otherwise, it just can't stay where it is. In nature, if this nigredo thing exists, it doesn't stay there for very long. It becomes compost rather quickly. Or in bad conditions, if it's in too much sunlight, it can become sterile and becomes kind of like an ash, like basically an unusable substance. But that's very, very rare that sort of happens, and it generally only happens to the top layer, whereas the rest of it still becomes really good, nice compost. And so you're at this stage where you can't go back to where you were, and you can't stay where you are. You have to push forward. You have to move forward. And you have to proceed with some caution. You don't want to be in the bleaching hot sunlight. Not yet, anyway. This compost that you're becoming needs to go into that final stage properly with some caution. And you probably are in a difficult situation. Like, for example, this stage of alchemy, this stage of life that you might find yourself in, is disordered, but moving toward order. You're creating order. You're taking the disordered pieces and putting them into order. And during this process, it can be a little strange and a little difficult to navigate. And keeping with the I Ching, the guy who wrote the I Ching, his name was King Wen, right? His goal was to overthrow this tyrant of the Shang dynasty who ruled the land at the time. But there was another group of people who were really awful troublemakers. They were the Guifang clan, or tribe, whatever, group. And they were just like this unruly criminal element, this sort of fifth element, or fifth column rather, that was just, they were a more immediate and worse problem than the tyrant himself, who King Wen was planning to overthrow. And the Shang dynasty asked King Wen for an alliance to help take out this clan. And King Wen was, he had to think about it a lot, but he had said yes eventually, and they defeated this troublemaker group. But before they defeated him, King Wen felt, am I being a hypocrite? Is this the wrong choice? This is the guy I'm secretly planning to overthrow. I can't join with him. I don't want to be hypocritical. I don't want to be dishonorable. What is going on here? But when he really put it together, he realized, no, this is the best course of action. This is benefiting everybody. Everybody benefits from this course of action. It's very disordered, that's just a weird social and political situation he found himself in. but he brought order to it. And when the clan was defeated, King Wen was given a little bit more authority. He could establish feudal lords who were loyal to him and so on, and then he was eventually, over years and years, able to consolidate his political power to then eventually overthrow this tyrant that he had once been in alliance with. And, you know, people can interpret that as dishonorable or shady, but he did it for the benefit of his people. That was his ultimate reasoning, was, you know, the people are suffering because of this criminal element, and they have to be dealt with. And there is no other way to deal with them unless we team up with this guy and do this. There's literally no other way to do it. And so you might be in this, it's like this quote-unquote impossible situation, right? And you might have some regret that you're feeling. But that's where this changing line comes in, this fourth line that changes to childhood. Now childhood is like innocence and lack of regret. There aren't many children who feel regret. They just live, they just do their thing. They live in the moment and they act, they follow their intuition and just act accordingly. And this is like, you are almost at that finish line. Your Negredo period is like ending. You're almost there at the achieving of the beginning of this new cycle of like putting your foot on the gas and going for it. So you have to like, you know, don't give up now. You're almost at the finish line. You've got to muster all your strength and all your will and all your spirit. And as long as you're steadfast, you remain true to yourself, you remain honest and upright, then the regret vanishes and you cross the finish line. You can't falter now when you're so close to the finish line. And you're right there. Don't get complacent. Don't lose sight of the goal. Proceed with some caution and do so with will to bring order to this disordered situation. And you'll have good fortune. You'll have success. You're there as long as you don't falter and you remain honest. All right. Now I'm going to get into my own divination system and pull some cards for you. And we'll develop this reading a little bit further. So I have here 24 symbols on this board that I carved up. These are aspects of reality, sort of symbols that I've developed over the years, aspects of life that we can focus on. I'm going to spin a coin. It will point to one of these 24 symbols, and that's the aspect of your life that the Oracle wants us to focus on today. All right, Oracle. What does Capricorn need to know? Pointing at nothing, it fell off the board. Let's try that again. What does Capricorn need to know? Landed upside down. Third time's a charm. What does Capricorn need to know? Okay, where are we here? The prison. So we're going to explore the areas of your life that feel like a prison, or that are stifling, or that have you feeling trapped or stuck, or lacking in freedom. We'll see what that's all about with a couple of cards here. Does Capricorn feel like they're in prison? You feel like you're stuck? You feel like you've been incarcerated? Maybe some of you actually are incarcerated. It happens. But if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling trapped, it's probably because you're just in a disordered situation and you think you're trapped, but you're actually very close to a finish line. So I think this prison is probably in your mind, but we'll find out. What does Capricorn need to know about this prison aspect of their life? What does Capricorn need to know about the prison? We've got the Princess of Swords, or the Page of Swords in other decks. In this deck, they're princesses. So, Yeah, this tells me, first off, that this prison is just in your mind. It's not a real thing. Society didn't put you there. Other people didn't put you there. Your thoughts put you there. You could be suffering with over-analysis of a situation. Analysis paralysis, as they say. You could be stuck overthinking something. And you could be trying desperately to gather information about your situation, researching so much, asking people so many questions, asking for people's opinions, just researching, gathering intel, not knowing what to do, trying to navigate this with your mind, with your thoughts. And this has put you in a mental prison. This is where you're being asked to proceed with caution, is a caution of your own overthinking tendencies, and to trust yourself, trust that you already have the strength and the knowledge to do what's necessary, and not to falter. Don't let overthinking stop you from crossing the finish line. Just do what you're doing. Do what you know is right and honest. And you could also be worrying about what other people are thinking. The Princess or Page of Swords is a somewhat immature energy that worries about what others think. Like, oh my goodness, if I do this, people will think that. Like King Wen, I'm sure, when he was considering an alliance with the Shang dynasty, was like, my family knows I want to overthrow this guy. My closest clan members know we plan to overthrow this Shang dynasty in the future. If I choose to ally with them, what will they think? Oh my God. And it's just to solve this problem of this criminal gang out there. Like, what? Is it really the honorable thing? They'll think I'm dishonorable. They'll think I'm a snake. They'll think I'm a traitor, blah, 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 blah. But he was doing it for good reasons. This criminal element had to be dealt with. It was the only thing to do. And there is the only thing you know to do. There's something you know you have to do. And so, but you're worried. You're maybe even judging yourself for making this choice. But if you can relax, center yourself, come to a calm, serene state, and, whatever it is you have to do to project yourself into the future, maybe write a letter to your future self, and ask your future self questions as though you took this course of action, and say, what were the results of this? How did it benefit people? How did it harm people? What happened? Like, it's basically just a way of thinking through the consequences of what you're going to do, and detach yourself from your thoughts and from other people's thoughts, and see what are the objective benefits and objective detriments, the objective pros and cons, not what I think, not what I feel, but what really will happen if I do this. And I think you'll find that there are far more benefits than drawbacks. I'm pretty sure you'll find there are way more pros than cons in doing this, and not to feel regretful in making the choice and going ahead with it. So I'm going to pull another card for you from another deck and see if we can get more about this. What does Capricorn need to know? Princess of Swords, the prison. It's this one. What have we here? Oop. Mortem. Death. Huh. That's a bit of a theme today for you. The scythe, the negredo period, the mortificatio, the disorder, the little girl juggling the scythe, the fresh compost. It's the good kind of death. The rich, fertilizing kind. The new cycle kind. Death is just a symbol for a new cycle. Don't get scared about the symbols of death. And this card is just like a desert, right? It's just kind of like this mountainous desert place. And the ground is red, dark, rusty red. And rust, iron oxide, it's, the oxide of iron, the death of iron is rust. So there could be a hard part of yourself that's dying, that's softening. There could have been this martial, tough, strong fighter, warrior, tough as nails, like warrior spirit within you that is softening, or that is dying or is dead, or some aspects of it are dying. It's iron hardness is becoming soft, and you might be worried that you're losing your bite you're losing your strength if you allow this warrior spirit to die. Maybe you feel like you're getting rusty, or you feel like you're weakening. But that isn't true, because this is coming in with the prison. This is being associated with the prison, and not just any kind of death, but this rust is the rust of the iron bars of your prison cell. It's your prison cell that's weakening. Perhaps this part of yourself was actually a type of fabricated prison, a psychic prison you had put yourself in or been put in. You felt like you had to be hard and tough as nails. You had to surround yourself with iron armor and iron weapons, and that put you in a prison. But now that prison is rusting away and falling free. It's decaying. The bars are decaying, and you can probably just hit the bars and they'll turn into red dust. They're probably not even fully iron anymore, and you might be looking at them and they're still holding their shape in front of you, and you still think you're in this prison. But if you just like push them, they'd probably crumble to dust right now. Don't falter, don't lose heart. Uplift your spirit, gather your strength, and just break through those bars, because they're probably very weak right now. They're probably decayed, and you can use that rust for other things. I don't know. Can you make compost out of rust? I have no idea. Maybe not. But you get the idea. So I'm going to pull a token out for you. I carved 64 symbols to go along with my divination system. One last thing for Capricorn. What does Capricorn need to know? The prison, the Princess of Swords, and death. The prison, the Princess of Swords, and death. What does Capricorn need to know? They both want to come out. Okay, so we have Gemini and the heart. Don't focus on me, look at the cool symbols. Okay, Gemini and the heart. So I just did Gemini's reading yesterday, I believe. So maybe there's something in that reading that you want to take a look at. Maybe there's some message in there for you. Maybe you're dealing with a Gemini. Maybe you've got strong Gemini in your chart somewhere. But you can also see the symbol for Gemini also kind of looks like my symbol for the prison, just these straight lines. I've got four straight lines in the prison symbol, but this is pretty close. It's like a prison with only 2 bars. That's what I mean, is the prison is breaking down, and you can get out of it right now if you want. And this heart here, part of the human being, the feeling aspect of the human being, the sacred heart, drew a little flame over it. I felt called to do that. And it's one of the things that makes us human, is our heart center, our feeling center. And I think you need to allow that burning passion to come back in to help guide this princess, this air sign who's dominated by her own thoughts. She needs the heat of the heart to burn away her analysis paralysis and take heart and move forward with courage and bravery. The next step in this is the Knight of Swords. The next move to make is just do it. Gallop on that horse and move forward. And the Knight of Swords has more passion than in his heart that's driving him forward. And he's got that horse with the passion and the fearlessness that's taking him forward. So I think you're just being asked to get back in touch with your feeling center. Remember why you started this cycle. This cycle that ended and that you're trying to begin a new one. Remind yourself why you're doing it. What was the passion that led you there? What was the motivation? There was something in your heart that you felt that put you on this path, and you might have lost sight of it because of your analysis paralysis. And you're being asked to note, just remember the feeling that got you started, that lit that fire and got you going. Don't forget that. That's the spirit of the whole thing, of this cycle that you're starting. Remember it and let it fill you up again and cross the finish line. Go through that last sprint. You're almost there. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all the Oracle and I have for you today. Capricorn, thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. It was great seeing you. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next time.